The cotton seller was nearly dying of thirst and had just taken a sip of spring water. The next second he poured the water onto his pile of cotton. The salt seller beside him was startled and asked him what he was doing.
干什么？连这你都看不懂？哼！
But the salt seller was still confused after hearing this, yet the cotton seller didn't say a word, picked up the heavy bucket and headed straight to the market. The salt seller was unbearably thirsty and thought about scooping a bowl of water to drink. The next second, he felt his mind suddenly become clear. He never understood why the cotton seller sprinkled water on the cotton pile, so he imitated and did the same, pouring water on his salt pile, hoping to increase the weight. So this was the legendary spring of greed. Just one sip would trigger the greed within one's heart. After the little mouse took a sip, it immediately ran into the farmer's house, and even when people came, it refused to leave. In the end, because it ate until it was too fat, it got stuck in the whole entrance and starved to death. After the cuckoo drank a sip of the spring water, she took her egg to other birds' nests and also destroyed all the eggs in the nest, not leaving a single one. The tree beside them couldn't help but blame the spring of greed for harming more creatures, but the spring of greed believed this was all caused by themselves. Knowing this was the spring of greed and still daring to drink, it would be strange if they didn't die. However, the old iris tree said the cotton seller and the salt seller only drank one sip, so they definitely wouldn't be affected. The spring of greed, hearing such contempt, cast a spell on the old iris tree. Let's see what happens to you too. The cotton seller died of exhaustion halfway because the cotton pile was too heavy, and the salt seller's salt was dissolved by water, completely clean, with nothing left at all. Now the old tree also had to notice the spring of greed becoming increasingly proud. At this moment, the sound of a person's horse hooves echoed to the spring of greed's edge. Its eyes immediately lit up. This time came a big fish. This was the famous Wu Yingji. He came to Guangzhou to serve as regional inspector. It was said he was clean and honest as an official. Now both teacher and student were tired and thirsty. Seeing the stream ahead, they walked over quickly. Tong Ding eagerly wanted to scoop a pot and drink immediately, but was stopped by Wu Yingji because he guessed this water source was the legendary, harmful spring of greed. After Xin Tong heard this, he was so frightened he poured out all the water. But Wu Yingji, knowing the power of the spring of greed, scooped water again and drank it down without hesitation. Xin Tong was panic-stricken after seeing this. He wanted to dissuade him, but Wu Yingji answered with a smile. Young man, could one's character be shaken by a sip of water? Wu Yingji didn't believe a sip of the spring of greed could make him change his mind, but he didn't expect this action would bring him enormous risk. Not long after, those who knew about this passage would only say he was lucky. Later everything went smoothly. Wanting to remain unaffected, Wu Yingji had just taken office and immediately encountered the spring of greed's death trial. The court sent him to guard the accumulated gold. At first, he didn't take the gold to heart, until at night when he was sound asleep, he was suddenly forced by inner greed to open the treasury doors.